Rambam. We're still in the book of Avodah, of divine service in the Holy Temple. We're coming actually to the end. We're learning the laws of Meila. Meila, chapter 2. Meila means those things that are holy and there was misappropriation of that holy object, right? So it's a very, we learned yesterday about those are things that are sanctified. So it's very nuanced. Let's go into it. And we'll like what. In other words, if it's something that's sanctified and holy, you can't have personal benefit from it. It ties in with the Tanya we just learned. Yeah. All right. All right, Tim, if you can let in. Thanks. Okay. The prohibition against Meila does not apply to sacrifice of lesser degree of sanctity until the blood has been cast on the altar. Right. Again, Meila means misappropriation of something that's sanctified.
Yeah.
Right? So what does it mean something is sanctified? So if you already have this animal to be brought as an offering, right? It's like it's a lesser level of an offering, but yet it doesn't have the highest degree of sanctity, a lesser degree. It only becomes this prohibition when the blood is cast on the altar. If the blood was cast on the altar, the prohibition against meal applies to fats and organs until they are taken to the ash heap, for they are designed for the altar's pyre. So let's say you had personal benefit from the fats or the organs of this animal. After the blood was cast, because that's when it becomes completely sanctified to Hashem, right?
The whole animal.
No, we're only speaking about the fats and the organs. Okay? That's what he's saying.
Ash sheep.
Ash sheep means where the ash would be heaped, right? Mm-hmm. For the design for the altar. The prohibition against Meila does not apply to an entity that is to be eaten, as explained. Meaning, if you can have benefit from it, if you can have benefit from eating parts of it, which you do, and even though you misappropriated and didn't use it for the eating, but you know for the kohen to eat, let's say, like there's certain from a sin offering, there's certain parts that the kohen would eat that would bring atonement for the person who brought the offering, right? So if that part was eaten by someone who shouldn't eat it, like a non-kohen,
yeah.
So then law of Meila wouldn't apply because there is what's the word? There is there's a sanctity to it, but since it can be eaten and had benefit by someone, the kohen,
yeah.
So someone who's not allowed to have benefit from it, right? In other words, there's inherent benefit that you can have from it. It's not inherently only holy, and therefore it doesn't have the law of Meila. Only something that has only holiness to it, and no one can have benefit from it in any manner, then that's when the law of Meila takes place.
So when you're bringing an animal as an offering and part of it is designated for a Kohen, then it's okay if other people are eating the rest of it.
It's not okay. You're not allowed to do it, but it doesn't have the law of Meila, which Meila means if you did it inadvertently, accidentally, you would have to give the value that you used 20% more, and you have to bring a sacrifice.
Inadvertently.
If you did it inadvertently, if you did it purposefully, but there were no witnesses, then you would get lashed. There would be lashes. If they were actually with witnesses, with witnesses.
Lashes and stones.
No.
But this
Almost.
But this is only an animal or an offering that is not in its entirety designated for holiness. Like if it's an offering that is solely for Hashem,
So if it was solely to be burnt on the altar, like an ascent offering,
Yeah.
right? An oila, so then any benefit that you would have from it, that would be Meila, because there's no benefit to be had from it.
yeah. Yeah.
Right? But remember, if it was parts that that the Kohen could eat from and have benefit,
Yeah, then you can
Right.
benefit from the other.
so then if someone's a non-Kohen does, you're not allowed to do it. But
Yeah.
that's a different.
It's not Meila.
It's not Meila. It's a different prohibition. You could do one sin and have many different
Yeah.
prohibitions, which means different consequences. You'll have maybe different.
Yeah.
You could have lashes 2-3 times maybe because you did 3 prohibitions in the same act, right?
Wow.
So that's the parameter of the law we're talking about over here. Remember, it's important here is about the law. Don't think about application. How often did this happen? I know. Right.
Sony was one that got me.
Yeah. You could imagine what kind of statement that made to the people who were involved in it, the people that saw it. Like that creates a greater deterrent than
Pretty big determinant.
pretty big deterrent. Right. It said it was a very bloody court because we learned it earlier in Chumash, right? A bloody court was that if they instituted the death sentence, one opinion was once in 7 years, another opinion was once in 70 years that there was a death sentence. So it was once in 7 years. Another opinion was once in 70 years. Others, that's how seldom it was. Right. Right. But remember, when we're learning the law or we're learning Chumash and Rashi, that's irrelevant to the learning, right? To the learning of what we're learning. Okay.
I feel much better.
Okay. Even if the fats or the organs were brought on the altar before the blood was cast upon it, the prohibition against Meila does not apply until the blood is cast. Because this level, in other words, it's not fully imbued with holiness until those fats that go on the altar, until you put the blood on the altar. Okay? That's why it's a lesser level of holiness. A higher level of holiness would be an ascent offering or a sin offering. That was in yesterday's class. Why is it holier? Is because immediately when it's already been assigned as an offering, it's imbued with holiness that if you misappropriate, even before you put the blood on the altar, you are liable for Meila. Okay? Is that clear?
Yes, but what offerings are we talking about now then? This
Korban Shlamim, peace offering, it's a lesser level, right? Lesser level means it only becomes imbued in the body of it when the blood was put on the altar. So now, right?
What happens to the animal if it's not?
Well, let's not go off topic, okay? There's going to be too much information, and let's make sure we get this information clear. It's difficult enough. Difficult enough.
I think what Mediterranean already.
Okay. So if fats of the organs were taken outside the temple courtyard before the blood was cast, the prohibition against Meila does not apply until the blood is cast. Because you took it outside the temple courtyard, right? So what it means is that meat of the animal is acceptable to is still acceptable to a certain degree because it's not imbued with holiness yet, because the blood was not put on the altar, right? If the blood was cast while they were outside and they had not yet brought back in, prohibition against Meila does apply. For casting the blood has an effect on the status of the sacrifice, whether it leads to a lenient ruling or a stringent one.
So even if you were outside, is this saying outside as in anywhere else? Or is it saying outside as in
Outside means outside. Outside just outside. Outside means outside of the courtyard here.
so you're still in the base of the church?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Excuse me. Number two, the prohibition against Meila applies to all sacrifices of the most sacred order from the time that they were consecrated until the blood is cast upon the altar. So here it's the opposite. So we just finished in the first one of the less like the peace offering, right?
Yeah.
Right. That only becomes sanctified when you put the blood on the altar.
Yeah.
Here it's the opposite. Now, korban chatas, a sin offering, or an oila, they're a higher level.
Yeah.
What makes them higher? They're more sacred. From the time that they were consecrated, they are sacred. But it's only until you cast the blood. Once the blood is cast, the prohibition against meal applies to the portions of them that are to be consumed entirely on the altar's pyre until they are burned and taken to the ash heap. The prohibition against meal does not apply to the portions that are to be eaten, as explained. So remember, let's take the korban chatas, right? So the sin offering. Part of the atonement for the person who brought that offering is that the Kohen eats from portions of meat. Portions of it go on the altar. What's the difference between the two? The portion on the altar has complete sanctity still, right? And therefore, someone ate from there. Meila. But on the portion that I already said this. Now he just said it. Rambam just said it over here. We learned it yesterday, but right. But the part that the Kohen would eat, if a non-Kohen ate it, which you're not allowed to do it, but it's not Meila. It's a different prohibition. It's a prohibition of that's not for you to eat. Right? Not that this is only for the Kohen to eat, not for you.
For these offerings, it was always the Kohen eating it at the base.
Well, no, I just give an example of the chatas.
Yeah.
Because in a chatas, in the sin offering, there is part of it is eaten by the Kohen. The ascent offering is completely consumed. So any part of the ascent offering, the korban oila, that if it was eaten from, so then it would be Meila, because that's completely for God.
Yeah, I see.
And the part that's completely for God will be Meila. The part that's not completely for God, that is eaten that is to be eaten, therefore Meila won't apply there.
Still can't do it, but not.
Right, exactly. So what's implied? Prohibitions meal applies to a burnt offering, both fowl and an animal, and a handful of meal offering and frankincense from the meal offering of a kohen, a chavitim offering the high priest, meal offering accompanying the offerings from the time that they were consecrated until they were taken out to the ash heap after being burnt on the altar. So until they are completely consumed on the altar and taken out. At that point, once they're taken out, right, it's ash, right?
But the meal offering, is that synonymous with the scent offering, or does it just mean any food that was brought?
The meal offering of the kohen is completely on the altar. If I brought a meal offering, only a kamitza, only this part that you take, right, and that would be on the altar, and the rest would be eaten.
Eaten just in your.
Eaten by the kohen, Eaten by the kohen.
But
Okay.
was an ascent offering the same as a meal offering?
No, they're all different parameters. No, an ascent offering means it's completely completely ascending to God, right? That's what ascent means, right? No, that's not the point. That's not the point. That's not the point.
But sin offerings and daily offerings were done.
A daily offering is an ascent offering. Daily offering is completely consumed.
Not a sin offering, though.
A sin offering, only parts.
Okay.
Right.
It's not an ascent offering.
Right. Chavitim of the high priest is, right?
Which is sin offering.
No. A chavitim was made from a meal. It's like a meal offering, but it was made in a pan differently.
Yeah.
And it was a Kohen Gadol, the high priest brought it every day.
Oh, okay.
It was his offering every day,
Yeah.
but it was completely offered. That's the point.
Is that with the gold pan or the gold?
No, that's you're thinking Yom Kippur now.
All right.
Yeah. Number 4. This is challenging over here. Similarly, the prohibition against meal applies to the bull and the goats that are burnt from the time that they're consecrated until they are burnt, and their burning is complete in the ash heap, and their meat is burnt thoroughly in their entirety. Before it is burnt thoroughly, the prohibition against meal applies to even though it is in the ash heap. In other words, because some of it might be in the ash heap, right? But some of it's still burning. So even in the ash heap, because it's not completely all the animal, not everything was burnt to ash yet. So therefore, even though some of it might have been put on the ash heap, you're still liable. You'd be still liable because it's just something left.
That's we do.
It has to be complete.
It
Exactly.
doesn't have to go, unfortunately.
Yes, we're gonna do one more halacha. Okay, number 5.
Fine.
That's right. Similarly, the prohibition against Meila applies to the red heifer from the time it was consecrated until it was reduced to ash, even though its status is that of an entity consecrated for the improvement of the temple. Concerning it, it says it's a sin offering. So it has like the law of the sin offering. It is one of the conditions established by the court that a person is not violating the prohibition against Meila with ashes of the red heifer. Okay, this is tough stuff. All right, folks. God willing, we'll see you tonight. Looking forward.